Hi, guys. So, for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, and for those of you who do not know me, my name is Saif Anwadeen, and welcome to Mindset Talks. Funny story about this podcast is it took me 4 years to actually launch this podcast. And the reason for that being is because I never knew what the hell I wanted to talk about, right? So here we are, 4 years later. I would like to welcome you all to the season and series premiere of Mindset Talks. We have an absolutely fantastic guest lined up for you for the very first episode. And a funny thing about this episode is we just decided to go with the flow and we decided to just wing it for this episode. So let's see how it goes. Please do like, subscribe, and share with your friends, with your family, and support Mindset Talks. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. Hi, guys, and welcome to the very first premiere episode of Mindset Talks. And we have a very, very special guest here with us today to be on the premiere episode. Hi, Rasini.
Hi, Seth. Thank you so much for having me for the premiere episode of your show, and indeed, it's a great honor. But
Mhm.
I'm really scared too, right?
Oh, okay.
See, the first episode get like a lot of expectations, so I hope I will
Mhm.
be able to live up to those expectations. But wishing you all the best in this new venture, and
Thank you.
glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So actually, funny story about this episode. So me and Rasini were actually having a conversation an hour back, right? And for the people watching this right now who think that this is happening earlier as ever, how wrong you are. It is close to, it's past midnight, and then suddenly Rasini goes like, you know what? Why don't we just wing it and go with the flow and just do it? And I thought, yeah, sure, why not? Just go with the flow, right, Russ?
Why don't we utilize the fact that we are night owls and then at least some benefit of it?
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So yes, the very first episode of Mindset Talks with Rasini Bandara, and this episode is it's gonna be all about building up your confidence by using humor. Now that is something very very interesting. Yeah. So yes,
It
exactly.
is. I have
And
personally done that many times.
exactly,
Building
exactly.
up confidence, lost confidence also. So.
True, true. I do remember a couple of. I do remember a couple of very, very embarrassing moments in my life that back in the day when I used to think about those embarrassing moments, I used to think to myself, what the hell is wrong with you, Saif? Why would you do something like that? But now when I think about it, I actually laugh about it, and I use it as motivation for myself. Have you ever felt that at some point?
Yeah, big time. Uh, I think throughout my life, uh, humor has been a big part,
Okay.
and especially I had a father who had an amazing sense of humor, and I don't know, I maybe inherited a little bit of that,
Hmm.
and throughout the school time, I was often had that whole tagline of entertainer, right? And I think, yeah, I've had friends who are like really funny, and so yeah, it just goes on, continues.
It really, really does. It really does.
Yeah, and I
But
ended up with a humor artist as well, so there you go.
so exactly,
And
the
I
humor
got kids
just
who are super
continues.
funny.
Yeah, the humor just continues. That's absolutely brilliant, I would say. And but there were a couple of moments as well where humor can be taken in a bad way, I would say. I mean, using it at the wrong time. I can remember this one moment, all right, back when I was working. Because because while I was working also as well, I used to work in HR. And I don't think HR guys are very, very humorous people when it comes to work. But me, I was the complete opposite. I used to always joke around with my employees, make jokes with my boss. And I can remember during one meeting, yeah, before the meeting starts, I was talking to my boss and I made this joke about working in HR. And I actually giggled under my breath. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it is I said, but there were a couple of other managers there. My boss looks at me with a huge glare on his face and he goes like, why did I hire you again, Saif? Like, I mean, remind me again, why the hell did I hire you? You know? And he had this he had this sarcastic smile to his face, you know. So that was
God. Oh God. It's an oopsie daisy moment.
oopsie daisy
Why did I
moments.
hire?
Exactly.
Yeah, been
I
there, done that.
I would say many of us have oopsie daisy moments. So I mean, did you ever have any oopsie daisy moments in your life, Russ?
Oh, plenty,
Okay.
plenty, so many. So many. I mean, in school, at home,
Yeah.
with relatives. I'm born with those moments. Yeah, yeah,
But
pretty
I mean,
much.
off the top of your mind, not maybe something similar to the story what you told me about the, let's just call it the tail story, okay? Apart from that, you know, like anything else that maybe pops to mind, you know, like, and what did you learn from it? I would say, what was the moral of the story, you know?
Do you want me to narrate the story? No,
Um,
right?
I mean, no, of course not,
I I
but yeah.
I would say okay. So for me, I think I've faced so many situations in school, like many
Mhm.
oopsie daisy moments, right?
Mhm.
I once remember, in school when I was in grade 13, and
Okay.
I was doing bio, and we would just fall asleep. I mean, it would just happen because we are exhausted. I was a prefect, and you had morning this practice,
Mhm.
that you are never in class, so we are hardly in class.
Okay.
So I had a teacher also. She's really funny, and she thought that I'll never make it in life at all.
Wow.
And so the thing is, like, so one day, like, I slept, and she was actually teaching us functioning animals. So that in biology you have functioning animal and functioning plants. So she
Okay.
was teaching functioning animal, and then I fell asleep, and then I suddenly woke up, and there was this she has drawn something on the blackboard. And then I have this thing that I was the person who would ask her a very twisted question, and then she would dwell in that question, and then all the others can do whatever like they want. And you know so I was like the distractor in the class, right? So I just saw this, and suddenly that whole I don't know, like, I know everything attitude came to me, and I was like, raised my
Mhm.
hand, and she was like, yes, Rasini. I said, miss, I have a question. I said, yeah, okay, go and ask. Miss, why are we doing? Because when I looked, I had the functioning animal book with me.
Mhm.
Like, so I was writing the note and I dozed off. And then I said, Miss, why are we doing functioning plant now? And then she just looked at me, and the entire class just like turned and looked at me. Apparently she was still doing functioning animal, right? I saw that she has drawn a tree, but she has drawn the liver and the pancreas.
Ooh.
Uh,
Yeah,
and then me out of the class.
that must have been a very, very memorable oopsie daisy, I must say.
Yeah. And I have actually tricked people into a lot of things also. So I was like that in school. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Whereas people really bought it. Yeah, yeah. There are so many instances like that.
You must have been one heck of a prefect, I would say, you know?
Oh yeah, very true. We were actually, I was blessed with a bunch just like that. So we all had, amazing talents, and at the same time amazing flaws as well. So we embraced all of it as individuals. It was really funny. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And so, like, I remember this one day, since we're talking about schools as well, right? This was back
Yeah.
in Saudi when I was schooling there, and we had this. Surprisingly, we had this speech competition there, yeah. And this was
Hmm.
back in the day at school, which was called Gavel Club, right? And surprisingly,
Yeah, heard
I
about.
was given the chance to to actually give a speech at the Gavel Club finale, which was a speech contest at the same time. So you know me, right?
Mm.
I came home, I prepared my speech, I practiced, I stood in front of the mirror. My parents and my brothers looked at me like I was some sort of a psycho, because I was literally screaming in front of the mirror talking to myself. And after talking to you for a couple of days, you must understand that's completely normal, I would say. Um, and then comes the finale day, right? I go up on stage as confident as ever. I give in my head, I give one of the most amazing speeches there is.
Mm.
And but the problem with that was I was not paying attention to the audience when I should have been paying attention to the audience, because I did not see a single person smile. And I remember walking off stage, and there was this
Okay.
slow clap, the typical slow clap, which built up into a normal clap as well. I
Uh,
go and ask my friend, bro, how was my speech? He looks at me, he starts laughing, and he's like, bro, why the hell were you commanding everyone around? You were literally commanding everyone around, you know?
uh-huh.
You were literally
Okay.
commanding everyone, because the way you spoke, I was like compared to Hitler. I was not giving a speech. I was basically just giving a politician's speech, just like the way people give speeches in parliament today, you know? That's how terrible it was. And now that I think about it, it was one of the most embarrassing moments, I would say. But now that I think about it, it was funny as well, because I used it to develop myself in a way. Yeah.
Hmm. Because you have, because for me, of course, I think sometimes, for me, like humor has just popped up out of the situations, and I've actually used that in
Hmm.
order to make myself comfortable in situations also.
Okay.
I've faced that when I was actually delivering my graduation, I mean, my diploma graduation vote of thanks. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like the most least interesting speech ever for anyone to do. I mean, it's reading a bunch of names, there's nothing exciting in it, right? And then it's the last to go, and people are just really conscious of what's happening in the buffet table, or when are we going to get food,
Yeah.
right? And so, and I've actually had a very terrible time, because I had to read out this name of a professor who flew down from Turkey.
Hmm.
His name was Priya Burkor or something like that. I still can't get it right.
Okay.
And in order to pronounce this, it just, it just ruined my life. I've been like practicing the name, and my friends were giving me other pronunciations which, would overlap this one. And, they were purposely doing it, believe me. And so when I went there and I wanted to actually calm myself down, and I would just look, and then my mother was crying like no one's business. She was emotional because it's her daughter on stage. Okay. And I'm like, I just stood there and I was like, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rasini Bandara, and, here to deliver the least interesting speech ever possibly in my life, but in the most toughest and the most difficult circumstances. Number one, I do not just look like Batwoman, I smell like one too, because I think the person who actually gave us these cloaks forgot to sort of, uh, what do you call that? What do you do when you forgot the name? Dry clean them,
Dry clean.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I was actually smelling like bat. I was smelling like a bat. And then I would say, and then there you go. My mom, just
Mm-hmm.
this was the moment that she wanted to bring her mother instincts. Like, she's just crying so much. I don't know why she's crying, right? For what reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then her only explanation is, when you once you're a mother, you'll understand. I said that's not going to happen for a long time, so I would still be very confused. And third, that I'm sorry, professor, trying to memorize your name, I literally lost myself, right? But here goes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my vote of thanks, which is going to be a bunch of names, but few people who really made all this happen. And I just went on. And so, yeah. I remember I've added some of the things also. I've always been a very impromptu
Mhm.
speaker, to be very honest.
I would say, yeah, it's moments like that. It's moments like that where you actually initially mess up from the very first
Hmm.
speech that you give, that actually helps you give better speeches, impromptu speeches down the line, right? It goes,
My
it
first one
always
was
goes back to you.
horrible. My first one was horrible.
Oh
True,
yeah, I
true.
can
I
imagine.
agree. I agree. I agree.
Exactly, so coming to that, actually, there are people out there who, there are certain people out there who take those embarrassing moments very, very seriously, right? But the question
Hmm.
that they should focus on is not about the embarrassing moment per se, but how do I use that to improve myself? Yes, people laughed at me. I do get it. It happens. But how do I move on from this? What do you think about that?
Yeah, because the thing is, Sif, I think a lot of people actually face that situation. A lot of people do not do so many things because of the fact that the fear of having to be laughed at
Mhm.
situations. I think that is where, I have met so many individuals who would say that I don't want to speak in English, I don't want to make
Mhm.
mistakes, and then people to laugh at me. I do not want to do this because I'll be, the laughing stock for everybody. I have always heard this statement, and it is, I think, but the thing is, when you kind of think about it, you yourself would have laughed at so many people, to be very honest. And when it's your turn, you are not ready to accept it. It's pretty much something like that. Okay, because you know what is there, you know what's coming your way, and it just acts as a big block. I think I was actually pretty lucky enough that, like I always say, that I had a mother and a father
Mhm.
who actually never thought twice to make fun of me, and at the same time make fun of themselves as well. My father would laugh at all the things that he would do and every all embarrassing situations that he has faced in life.
Mhm.
And it was so funny. He was very funny in nature. And
Mhm.
people are just terrified of him, because if he walks into a room, he's going to pick at least one, two, three, four people and then make fun of them, right? And it was really, really super hilarious. But the thing is, he also had the personality that he was ready to laugh at him at any moment,
Mhm.
right? He he was never embarrassed of those moments. He pretty much lived those embarrassing moments. I think he just kind of passed it on to me as well, to a certain
Mhm.
extent. When I'm mostly able to laugh at myself for all the silly and the worst things that I've made, right? And then at the same time, laugh at others also. But I wouldn't generally laugh at mistakes made by people,
Mhm.
because the thing is, I know that it's a tough position to be in. If I see attitude in people, I
Okay.
would definitely laugh. Right? That for me, I've seen so many people throwing attitudes, and then when they make a mistake, right, that is really funny. I would laugh for that. But naturally, not when anyone would make a mistake. It's not a good um, trait or a characteristic
Mhm.
to have. But I think, number one, you should be able to laugh at yourself.
Absolutely
uh,
true.
and then because all of us, look, I have made so many mistakes trying to speak in English and other
Mhm.
languages too. And my son make errors, my daughter make errors, and then I
Mhm.
laugh with it. So all of us, we laugh together, right? At the same
Mhm.
time, when I make a mistake, and they have the ability to laugh at me as well. So that's how it should be. So I think that is what you should encourage. And people, some for some people, it's something like that can absolutely turn them into a social withdrawal kind of a behavior, and completely go into a very negative state as well. Some
Oh,
people take it very personally.
I mean, yeah, people really do take it very, very personally when they make a mistake. Like for example, um, similar to your situation, including me as well, right? When I first came to Sri Lanka in 2014 from Saudi, I mean, having been brought up there without having been taught the language that is Sinhala, I found it very, very difficult, adjusting to life over here, right? Because I do realize I myself am a Sri Lankan, and imagine being a Sri Lankan and not knowing how to speak in Sinhala or Tamil, right? Because the language I was brought up in was English. We spoke English in Saudi. So when I came here to Sri Lanka, when somebody came and spoke to me in Sinhala, I kid you not, it was like me understanding Chinese. I had no idea what the person was talking to me about. Like, I found it very, very confusing. And every single time I tried to respond, I always used to screw up one or two words, I would say. And I always used to be met up with
Okay.
a lot of laughs, with a lot of laughs, And honestly
I
speaking,
laugh a
yeah.
lot at my I laugh a lot at my son's Sinhala. um, it's just super hilarious. I mean, for example, I don't know. So once there was like, so singular form. So
Okay,
there was this thing of singular and plural, right?
okay,
So ekavachana, bahuvachana. Then for ekavachana, this one has written. So it's the ekavachana they have given. So it's puta,
okay.
right? And then bahuvachana, he has written puto, right? So he's you know uh, what his essay on the fact that I'm a pencil was so funny. Yeah, yeah. So it's really
That must
funny.
have been,
It's just super funny, super funny.
that must have been absolutely interesting, you know.
Oh yeah, big.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing we're doing this entire conversation. I mean, if both of us were to, you know, meet up in public, and if you hear me talking in singular to somebody, I guarantee you, you're gonna fall down, rolling on the floor, laughing for the singular I speak, because I kid you not, it's entertainment for people. Honestly, it's entertainment for other people when I speak in
You're
singular.
purifying blood of others, so it's a good position to be in.
It is. It really is. I mean, they laugh first, but then they tell me, okay, you know what? Don't say it like this. Say it like that. You know. Then I'm like, you could have just told me that in the beginning without the hurtful laugh. Come on, you know.
Yeah, there are
But
so many stories, so many embarrassing stories, which I would share later on with you, sir.
definitely, you know. And I mean, coming back to the topic of, you know, you said that we should always try to use self humor to motivate ourselves, right?
Yeah,
When I look at comedians, like we discussed, you know, before we recorded this episode, when we spoke
yeah.
about comedians, the main highlight behind their stories is about their most embarrassing moments, right? It's all about their embarrassing moments. Do you think if we apply that perspective into our lives, like for an example, if a person messes up something important to them, you know, do you think they would be able to take it in a very humorous way to further develop themselves and, you know, kind of motivate themselves?
Well, absolutely. I mean, see, the thing is, like I said, you should
Mhm.
be able to just laugh at yourself first of all.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are able to really laugh at the errors or the issues and all those things that happen from your end, I
Hmm.
think it's more like absolutely embracing and accepting yourself as a person, which
Hmm.
can be really, really positive for you. So if you can find something that is funny in in whatever that you do. I mean, even for me sometimes, Seth, like I do try to find that through my approach and the way I actually kind of have these relationships going on with my clients also.
Okay.
And some of the ways that I have to react, it's super hilarious as well. It's more like, because see, I wouldn't have answers to all the issues and all the
Hmm.
things that's going on, right? And then
Yeah.
me trying to come up something, trying to cook up something, it's
Yeah.
really funny to me as well. Sometimes my struggle, I think your struggle should be really entertaining for you. That is
Hmm.
one thing I kind of see it. I mean, I try to save my sanity by being that person in most situations. That is something that I'm constantly focused on, because otherwise I would lose it, especially in an environment where uh, problems and issues and all those things are discussed, right? I would say that it is something that keeps me going, even whether it's a fault made by my end, or it's my response or reaction to some
Okay.
situation. Even
Hmm.
just going completely numb or giving a facial expression. you know it's it's really something that I kind of really truly appreciate and celebrate. So that's how I keep going. So like I said, I think it will give you more acceptance of yourself as a person when you do that.
That's absolutely true, you know. That's absolutely true. And once we do, after all, there are two quotes that I would love to actually bring to the table right now. I'm not going to tell you, I mean, I've already told you one quote, but this is another quote, all right? This guy, he is from a famous TV show, which you are passionately in love with us as well. What he said was, once you have accepted all of your flaws, none shall use them against you. And that is said by none other than the one and only
Other
Tyrion
than,
Lannister.
wait, stop, Lannister, and he said this to Jon Snow in season one. You want me to tell the scene also? I'll tell it.
Wow. Have you been rewatching the entire TV series, really? Or have you like memorized everything?
I for me, I think GOT has so much of humor, but
It
hidden in a
does.
very nasty and a very darker way. That is something I absolutely love about it. I mean, I some of the, I think some of the characters, to be
Mhm.
very honest, it's just express it in a different level, in like another level.
They really
Yeah,
do. They really do, you know.
it's really.
And
Oh yeah, yeah, very well written.
it's absolutely true, you know. That quote right there, actually, you know, I once I read that quote, I was like, wow, because that quote actually has a lot of meaning behind it, you know, because I believe if people actually were to understand, okay, you know what, these are my flaws, I need to work on developing them, sure. But should I really focus on the naysayers, the negative mindsets of other people, you know? Should that bring me down? I think that's what people should develop, right?
Yeah, because in if you kind of bring that topic in Game of Thrones, all the time that people make fun of the imp,
Yes.
him being smaller, the
Hmm.
dwarf jokes, right?
Yeah.
And so he kind of lives it. Like before somebody brings it up, he has it over there, like
Hmm.
on the table. Look, you are going to use that line on me, fine, you use it. That's not going to affect me.
True.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. You
it's
know,
quite deep actually.
it's what people should definitely use when they are being spoken in a bad way of, especially to their face. That's what I feel, you know. And I think if people were to implement humor into any aspect of their life, you know, any aspect of their life, they'll definitely be able to come out of this entire bubble and definitely form better interpersonal relationships as well, right? After all, humor is the poison that kills fear.
Mhm. Very true. I think when you are blessed with companions
Mhm.
who absolutely love humor and celebrate humor and able to laugh at even themselves, I think it becomes very easy. Becomes really easy. Yeah.
It really does. It really does, you know. But yeah, I mean, moving on, of course, you know,
Yes.
I can honestly remember this one instance, you know, where I what was this? Okay, so I actually remember this instance where when people use humor, they tend to always lose focus on the main subject, right? Because after all, like you said, self humor is one of the best possible ways to connect to people, right? But then you have two sides of the coin. You
Yes.
have the side where you use other people's flaws, or they pick on other people in a negative way to humor themselves,
Mm.
right? How do you think the victim,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, how do you think the victim should definitely move forward after that?
Well, see, the thing is, there is always this thing that you need to understand. I think a lot of people become bullies in that way because
Mm-hmm.
their lack of emotional intelligence as humans. I
Mm-hmm.
think like I said, treat the people. I always say this: treat the people the way you want to be treated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you do not like to be the laughing stock in an audience or whatever, then don't do that to another person,
Mm-hmm.
right? But nowadays, of course, you can see, starting from political leaders and all these people, what they share, right? It's really bad, it's really embarrassing. I mean, it's sad that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes on platforms, they bring out very personal things. I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
example, their sexual orientation and all
Mm-hmm.
those things also. It's a sad thing that what we are experiencing now. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
you you joke about something, you joke about falling down, you joke about some sort of a statement they just made, but then
Yeah.
do not take it to a point that it just gets really personal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I would say that for me, I would get really hurt and upset if I see somebody making fun of
Mm-hmm.
another person's orientation, if I see
Mm-hmm.
somebody making actually statements of body shaming, and if I see somebody making statements, or making fun of situations that people go
Mm-hmm.
through and all that, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
jobs or whatever circumstances. It shouldn't be that way. And there are things for now, of course. So it has actually gone to a point that even a dead body is funny to people. So it's a sad place to be in. I mean, your girlfriend over there, his or her life, it becomes a joke to you once they are no longer in your life, and you bad mouth about them, you enjoy bad mouthing about them,
Mm-hmm.
and in whatever the intimacy that you share, it's very dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So I think humor is not going anywhere very positive nowadays. That is something I see.
True.
So it's becoming dirtier by the day.
Mm-hmm.
People need to um, I would say, hear the effort to even laugh. Otherwise, just that whole kick to laugh would not pop out. So it's in a situation like that. So we are actually finding humor in situations and in people, uh, of things that we should not find humor, should not be funny.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Everybody
Absolutely true.
has the right to live life in a way that brings happiness to them. It should not be something that you make entertainment out of it.
Absolutely true. Couldn't agree with you more, Russ, because like you said, I mean, like you said, we live in a very we live in a very different world than what it was 10 years ago, right? Because even before we hit the record button, we were just talking about comedians as well. I mean, comedy is not what it was 10 years ago compared to today. Like you said, I mean, to make people laugh, you need to use filth in today's world, right? Whereas you actually don't need to use filth, because if you actually have a very good point, which is from your previous, from previous experience in life, why do you want to use a negative form of humor to make yourself look funny? You're just sending the wrong message
Of course.
across, right?
Yeah. I've seen this trend, where people's lives are taken as, it's they've made a mockery out of people's lives,
Mm-hmm.
and they've made a mockery out of people's desires,
Mm-hmm.
and people so want to trend nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can do anything and then get trendy, right? Everything is funny. It's very hard to actually figure out what is funny and what is not. Um, So even we are now laughing at very serious things that we should pretty much laugh. I mean, we should be shocked by most of the things that we are laughing at nowadays,
Mhm.
to be very
Absolutely true.
honest.
Absolutely true, because if you compare it to our, like, from our perspectives as well, right? I do realize that there are a couple of things that we can laugh about, like when it comes to whatever we see on the news in today's context, from a Sri Lankan context, if you catch my drift, that is, right? But at the same time, we need to ask ourselves, is this actually funny, or is this actually sad, right? Because to the external viewer, it looks funny, but from the people who are actually experiencing it, it's not so funny, isn't it?
It's not. Believe me, it's not.
Exactly. You and me, we do understand that, but for the people who are, for my viewers watching this right now, just give it a Google search and you might understand what they're talking about. Anyways, moving on to the next topic. I think definitely people should implement humor into their lives, specifically when it comes to their muck-ups from their previous experiences, because that actually helps them, right? Maybe a speech, maybe a date, maybe even a job interview as well. It's those little
Yeah,
moments that actually help you, right? To be a better tomorrow, to be a better person for tomorrow. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
exactly. And yeah, I think we are actually pressed for time at the moment, Rasidi, and we have come to the mark of our very, very first episode. And would you like to maybe have any final remarks, final closing statements, I would like to say?
I think actually humor is something that can be so refreshing and so positive to any human's life,
Mm-hmm.
even um, at most uncertain and devastating moments as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
it could be something that uh, keeps you going. I think I was reading you a part from Viktor Frankl's story, Man's Search for
Yes.
Meaning, where said that every day we thought, okay, humor will be something that keeps us going, and we would think about applying, taking a situation here in the concentration camp and then
Mm-hmm.
applying it to the real world someday when we get liberated. So that humor kept them going. So it has so much of strength, it has so much of power of laughter or a smile,
Mm-hmm.
has so much of energy. So therefore I think it should be something that will not damage another human or an individual. It should be something that's very constructive. uh, it should not be used to destruct something very destructive.
Mm-hmm.
It should be helping somebody to build up and help somebody to grow as an individual, rather than breaking them as individuals. So I think what people must understand is that, first of all, learn to laugh at yourself, laugh at your mistakes, laugh at your errors, embrace yourself, embrace the mess you are, right, as an individual.
Yeah.
And when you can take a good laugh at yourself, right, I think that will give you the credibility to laugh at another situation, or um, something that is happening, because things happen beyond your control, it's not always in your control. But you know if you feel that it's not the right time to be funny, don't be funny. You don't have to necessarily be funny. I
True.
think that understanding is something that you will build up the more um, emotionally intelligent you are as an individual. The more you focus on humanity, you will know when and where not to be funny. That's also a skill. That's a massive social skill. You cannot be funny in every situation. Every situation is not funny. So, but there, but it can be used in many situations.
Mhm.
I think humor will absolutely give you so much of meaning
Mhm.
uh, in things, and yeah, that's what I think as final thoughts I can say. But there's a lot to say, but I think if I have to wind up, that's what I would say.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And to end on a much more positive note, actually, I mean, like as we told earlier, both of us are passionate lovers of Game of Thrones. So I'm going to repeat this quote once more to seal off the night. Laughter is the poison that kills fear. That was said by George R. R. Martin. And from Mindset Talks, thank you so much for tuning in with us. And we hope to catch you at the very next episode. And Rasini, Vala Mugulis.
Ah, I wanted to say that. Okay, Walado Haris then.
I think I beat you to it. All right,
Thank you
guys,
so
have a
much
good
for
night.
having. Yes, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for patiently listening as well. And please subscribe, like, and follow this page. And Saif is always someone who's really amazing to have a conversation with. And I'm also looking forward to see all his future episodes as well. So thank you so much for having me, Saif, and wishing you and everyone who's watching a very good night. Thank you, guys.
Take care, guys. Bye bye.